Welcome back, I'm Sean, and as a person who is pretty active, I really think that action camera is like a godsend type of technology since you can use it for many and almost all types of use cases. And today we're checking out a pretty awesome one from Insta360, so let's check it out. So the Insta360 Go 3 today was sent over to me by Insta360 for review, and this is not a sponsored post, and my review will be based on my honest and unbiased opinion. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any future tech reviews. So the Go 3 here comes in 3 different storage sizes, and unlike the GoPro Hero series, you're going to get built-in storage here that starts from 32, then you get 64 and 128 gigabytes of storage. So there are pros and cons with this type of system, and we'll discuss about them shortly. The prices of 32 gig starts at $380 US, 64 gig for $400 US, and 128 gig for $430 US. So for its latest pricing, please check out my links below. So the first thing that you'll notice here is that very unique styling of the Go 3, and this is definitely a significant improve from the Go and the Go 2, and with every iteration, every generation definitely see an improvement from the last. And with the latest iteration, you're still gonna get the same fun small style of the Go series of action camera, but this time around you're gonna get a super functional action pod that comes with a screen at the back, mimicking the more typical style of an action camera like the GoPro or DJI, and even the Insta360 One RS. So the case that you get here is a smooth white plastic case, very beautifully designed, and the entire device feels very pristine, very gorgeous. I personally love it very much, but as a mountain biker that gets involved with mud and grime all the time, this might not be the best color because even with just one ride with the Insta360, I got quite some dirt on the device that I can't wipe off. But again, this device, like many other action cam, is a tool that we use to film our activities, and I can understand that you might not want to baby it so much. So regardless of that, one of the best things that this device have is the newly added screen, and the Go 2 was cool originally because it came with a small info screen, but this time around you're gonna get a full-fledged color display that is full featured like what you can get with the Insta360 One RS or even GoPro, and even better than the GoPro, this is a tilting screen so you can use it for selfies. And one thing to note is to not get sand in between all of these different hinges here. And although you can wipe it off, it hurts to hear the sand grinding inside when you tilt it around. So another cool thing here is that all the buttons that you get here are all covered in rubber, and it's very easy to use. You get a record button at the top here, a power button at the side here, as well as a multi-function button to adjust the camera, but most of the controls are done through the touch screen. So at the side here, there is also a Type-C port to charge up your camera, and there is also no memory card slot since this camera has a built-in storage and no expandable storage. So right over here is also a button where you can press, and this is where you can pull out the camera, and you can still use the action pod separately as a separate screen, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. And once you're done with that, you can actually snap it back into the pod. So as for the non-expandable storage, you might say this thing is, one less thing to worry about, and you don't really have to keep swapping in and out your memory card. But you're pretty much stuck with the storage size that you have. So I would suggest getting the 128 gigabytes if you take many full resolution video at high frame rates. So another great thing about the Go 3 series is the magnetic mounting system, and this is where I think it's much better than the GoPro's implementation. I was hoping the new Hero 12 would have a magnetic mounting system, but apparently not. So the system here is really simple to use, and especially as a mountain biker, I don't need to keep unscrewing the GoPro mount and mount it somewhere else. And I can just remove the camera very easily and mount it somewhere else. So for example, here I have this monkey tail mount and my Go 3 here. All I gotta do is just snap it on top, and it's magnetically stuck onto the mount. And if I want to remove it, all I gotta do is just press here and release the camera, and I can just mount this somewhere else. And if you somehow go out without your action pod and you only have this one, this is also magnetic because you can just mount this on top here and it will just stuck to the mount, and you can just mount this thing anywhere to film your stuff. Now I mounted the Go tree on a tree and I managed to get myself a shot of me jumping. Not too sure how the dynamic range is because there's some bright parts here and that part is dark. So we'll see. But you can see that this is very easy to use. The mount doesn't have to be very secure, but as long as there's grip, it will work. And I can just mount the camera here. Very convenient. What that I want to get is this one, and this is where I've mounted the camera. It's just standing there like a small snake. So let's see whether we can get that shot. So some of the cool mounts that you get is this cap mounting system. So you can just pop your camera in here and you can just mount this on top of your cap, and you can just walk around and shoot whatever that you're seeing. Separately, you can also buy other mounts like the monkey tail mount that is super useful for many situations. So I'm not too sure if you can see, but after just one ride, you can see that the white color actually got stained a little bit, and also there's some black bits here from the mud and everything that I can't remove. So that's what you need to expect if you are a mountain biker and you use this camera. So the battery life of the Go tree is pretty decent, and again, none of the battery is interchangeable, so if you run out of juice, that's pretty much it. You can use the Go tree on its own and even without the action pod, and you can even use it to connect to the Insta360 app without the action pod. So the Go tree itself comes with 310 mAh battery that gives you about 45 minutes of shoot time, and the action pod comes with a larger 1270 mAh battery life, and together it gives you about 170 minutes of shoot time. Note that these are tested at 1080p at 30 frames per second, and if you shoot at 2.7K at 30 frames per second, then shoot times will be reduced. Charging the Go tree itself is very fast at 35 minutes, and charging the action pod only takes 65 minutes, so hopefully we will see a future variation where we get an interchangeable battery for the action pod itself. Let's talk about the specs of the Go tree. So first of all, you're not getting a 4K camera with this device. Granted, it's such a small device, and the main value proposition with this device is so that you can have a camera that you can have with you all the time and mount it on your body as you film. You're gonna get a maximum resolution of 2.7K up to 30 frames per second, 1440p up to 50 frames per second, and a slow-mo mode at 1080p up to 120 frames per second. So in my opinion, 2.7K is actually plenty sufficient for many situations, and you also get a smaller file size from it. And comparing the video output between the 4K GoPro Hero 11, it's really not too bad comparing them, but of course you're gonna get more details with the Hero 11 at 4K. But from my experience with most action style video content, the resolution really usually isn't the biggest issue. I think great lighting, stabilization, and field of view are honestly even more important. And like most action cameras out there, you're also going to get different color profiles such as standard, vivid, as well as flat, which gives you more flexibility in color grading. But as compared to many modern cameras, you're not getting the widest color gamut, since the Go tree only films up to 8-bit color, and cameras like the Hero 11 films up to 10-bit color. And simply comparing footage from the Hero 11 to the Go tree, you can very quickly see the difference in color, where the Go tree looks slightly washed out and not as vibrant, and the Hero 11 just somehow looks super nice out of the box. So another thing to take note is the water resistant rating of this device. The Go tree itself is IPX8 water resistant, so you can go down to a depth of 16 feet without any housing. However, note that the action pod here is only IPX4 water resistant, and it's only splash proof and not waterproof. So if you want to go diving with this, you need to get a dive case for the Go tree. And I don't have the Hero 12 with me, but comparing it to the Hero 11 that you can see here, which is waterproof out of the case up to 33 feet without any specific case required, so that is pretty cool. So finally, the sensor of the Go tree is also smaller at 1/2.3 inches as compared to the larger sensor of the Hero 11 at 1/1.9 inches. And comparing the Hero 11 to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, which has an even larger sensor at 1/1.28 inch. So this is one key factor, because the larger the sensor size, the better image quality and also better low light performance. Comparing it, especially riding in a dark forest like what we have in Malaysia, you can see although the sensor is smaller, the Go tree still performs admirably good good compared to the beast of action camera, which is the Hero 11. So finally, another feature that I absolutely love is the screen on the action pod, because the first thing is that you can use this Go 3 like any action with the action pod with the screen, use it like any GoPro out there, but you can now take this out from the action pod. Give me a second. And now it becomes a monitor for you to align your shots, which is super cool. So now you can see even the action pod is out, you can still see me here in the screen, and I can just move this around. So I love the flexibility I get with this camera. It's easy to carry around and very easy to get it ready and start shooting with it. From my analysis, I am truly impressed with the performance of this camera, so let's analyze it further. So starting with the video footage, at 2.7K, you're getting plenty of resolution as compared to your standard 1080p footage. If you have always been shooting in 4K, then you would see a slight degrade in resolution, but honestly, not by much. One thing I noticed is the field of view, especially compared to the Hero 11 with its hyper view field of view. So even at the ultra field of view, it's not wide enough as compared to the GoPro's hyper view. So as you can see here, this scene is where the camera is mounted the same way under my helmet, just like the Hero 11, and you get to see a lot more with your action with the bike. For most situations, this ultra view is really quite good and will work really great. Secondly is the stabilization, and with Insta360's latest flow state stabilization, I must say even at the bumpier sections, jumps and drops, there is no problem for the Go 3 to stabilize the footage. And if you use this as your main mountain biking camera, then this is a really good and stable cam. And the dynamic range here is also decently good, and I've got two shots here that I want to show you that it has very bright spots and dark spots. Although out of the camera it doesn't feel like it's bright enough, but I'm surprised that there is enough detailed capture in the camera to boost it in post. Overall, I really love the footage, flexibility and ease of use of this camera, and I'm really excited to bring this on to some of my family vacations. So a big improvement from the previous Go 2 camera, and I think the Go 3 is your perfect travel camera where you just want to capture content quickly and hands-free, especially if you do sports and wants to fully focus on what you're doing and not worry about the gear, then this is definitely for you. So that is it for this review. If you find this video helpful, smash the thumbs up button, share this video everywhere, and if you haven't yet subscribed, do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.